Good morning, everyone. My name is Maya Luria with TMC for Seniors, and I am so happy to be here today for a new presentation on Don't Be Caught by Scams or Fraud. I have Allan Trachtenberg here with me. He is a senior engagement volunteer with the Tucson Police Department. Allan has been with the police department in this role as a volunteer. He's been, well, not in this role, but several different roles over at the police department for 21 years. So he really has gotten to know the ins and outs of the police department. And he's here today to share with us and what we can do to sort of protect ourselves. So I want to welcome you, Allan.
Thank you.
So, Allan, we have an audience here with us that's online, as well as you have your in-person audience that you're presenting to today. I'm going to let you go ahead and get started. If you are watching us from home, please feel free to leave any questions for Allan in the comments. And once he's done with his presentation, I'll go ahead and get those asked for you. So please, Allan, welcome.
Thank you. So the presentation itself takes between 15 and 20 minutes. And then after that, we have plenty of time to answer all the kinds of questions that you have. So to begin with, it's estimated that Americans have been scammed out of about $3 billion a year the last few years. And we believe that that number is actually larger because a lot of people are so embarrassed they don't report it. So it goes unreported. It's done by big illegal businesses all over the world, and they hire hundreds of thousands of people to man phones and do all kinds of activities to try to scam you out of your lifetime savings. Last year alone in the United States, there were 1,862 data breaches of large corporations, and they don't always report it. But there were of large corporations, 1,862 had their files of your information, your passwords, in some cases your social security numbers, and so on, compromised. And so they actually have these organizations actually have a lot of information already on you. What they don't have, hopefully, is your social security number, your account numbers that you use, and your passwords. Excuse me. So everyone is at risk. Some people think it's only uneducated people, and that's not true. The data shows that lawyers, doctors, college professors have all been scammed, and especially seniors. They are the most vulnerable because they often don't take the necessary steps to check and find out whether something that's being offered to them is really a scam or not. So the first thing that you should do is if you think that you're being scammed, is don't panic, okay? Delay taking any action on what they're asking you to do until you have a chance to check it out. So how are you reached? Well, they reach you obviously by phone. They reach you by email. They reach you by internet social sites that we'll talk about. They go door to door. They often hijack your computer with what's called ransomware. They do mailbox theft, both incoming and outgoing mail, and some are actual by regular post office mail, although very, very little of that's done because it's easy for the U.S. Postal Service to track scams back that way. So let's talk about by phone. Federal, state, and local governments never, ever contact you by phone for any reason, okay? Never. If there's anything important that they have or they want to talk to you about, they will send you a legitimate piece of mail through the post office. Medicare and Medicaid never contact you by mail, or by phone rather, by phone. The IRS and Social Security never contact you by phone. Okay? And jury duty in the motor vehicle division don't ever contact you by phone. So if you get phone calls from any organization that purport to be a local or state or federal government entity, it is a scam. Okay, simple as that. So there are ways to check it out. I'm sorry, just 1 second here. Excuse me. Your bank will not call you either about a problem with your account. If they claim to call you, and they give you a phone number to call back because there's a problem with your account, you go to your statement or your credit card or something that's legitimate from the bank and use that phone number. The phone number that they're trying to give you by phone or email for your bank is not a legitimate phone number. They want to get your personal information. So if they tell you there's been some checking activity that looks fraudulent, press 1 to clear it up. And then they're going to ask you what your bank account number is and a password to get into your account. That's always a scam. So what you need to do is go and find in your records the legitimate number of the bank, whatever bank it is, and call them and tell them about your phone number and tell them that you want to know if there's a problem with the account. And then you can give them the people that you've spoken to at the real bank, you can give them your account number. You don't need to give them the password, just the account number, and they will check to see if everything is all right. And if a scammer tells you that they've been trying to reach you by mail and you haven't responded, most scammers, as I mentioned earlier, don't send anything through the regular mail. So if they've been trying to reach you and you have not gotten anything, it's not real. And just forget it. So if anybody calls you and asks you for any personal information, first of all, don't even give them the spelling of your name. If they're calling you and it's legitimate, they should have that information in front of you. Don't give them any account numbers. Don't give them any passwords. Don't give them any access to any private information, especially Medicare. If they say they want to send you a new Medicare card, say, great, send it to me. You have the information, you called me. Don't give them your Medicare number. They may say, we need that number, or a Medicaid number. We need that number to verify that you're the person. Say, no, I'm the person. You just called me. You have the number, mail it to me in the mail. Okay? Otherwise, it's a scam. Nowadays, because of the internet, Google has something called opening an account, and they ask you for you to say the word yes so they can verify your voice. So some scammers will ask you, is this Allan Trachtenberg? And if you say yes, they record your voice and then go and try to open an account through Google using my word and say my name and the word yes. So never use the word yes. Google doesn't ask for any other authentication other than the word yes. So if somebody says, is this Allan Trachtenberg? You say correct, or it is, but not yes. Okay, some scammers will talk to you about an opportunity to sign up for discounted Medicare or Medicaid or other health plans. Don't sign up for anything because they will need private information from you, supposedly, to provide you with new information on a Medicare or Medicaid plan. It's not real. Don't give out that information on the phone. You can always say to them, if you are at least a little bit curious, okay, you know who I am because you call me, send it to me in the mail and I will look at it. That's a valid request. They won't send you anything. And if they do, that you can go to Medicare.gov and double check and see and tell them what you have and whether is that a legitimate request. And most often it is not. The favorite form of payment is gift cards. We were talking about that before we even started. And what they will do now is they'll tell you that something has been charged to your account or whatever problem, or there is a problem and you have to pay for it. Motor Vehicle Bureau says you haven't paid your licensing fee for 5 years. There's no record. You need to send them $800. And how to do that? Well, go and get Target gift cards or Walmart, or rather Amazon gift cards. Well, the problem is what they're going to do with those gift cards is you're going to read them the number. You're not going to mail it to them. You'll read them the number. And by the time you hang up on the phone, they've already charged that equivalent of money on those gift cards, and you can never get the money back. It's not redeemable. It's gone. So stores now are learning to ask people who come in and want to buy hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards, assuming it's not Christmas time, and ask you, what do you need it for? And once in a while, somebody will say, well, I have to do this. They'll say, I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm sorry, it's a scam, and I'm not going to sell it to you. Because so many stores now know when people come in and buy $500, $800, $1,000 worth of gift cards, that's not the gifts that they're sending to people. If you wanted to do that, you could send a lot of money in a lot of other ways, but not a store gift card. So if somebody asks you, excuse me, for gift cards to pay for something, just hang up on them. Okay, it's not legitimate. There is also a new form of payment, and most people don't even know about this, called cryptocurrency. Most people have no idea what cryptocurrency is, and I will just tell you it's electronic form of exchange of money that doesn't actually exist. It's a big Ponzi scheme, in my opinion. However, you say, well, how would I pay for that? Well, a lot of gas stations now, in their little kiosk building there, have a cryptocurrency ATM machine. Beside a regular machine to take money out of a regular ATM, they have a crypto ATM machine. Excuse me. So if they ask you to go and give them $500 in cryptocurrency, okay, you could do that, but that money, the moment you push send, is gone out of the United States, lost forever. Any legitimate organization would never ask you to send money in cryptocurrency. Another scam. They are very smart. They're working on all kinds of angles. A lot of them, scammers will tell you they're calling to confirm an order. Most often from Amazon, only because of the size of the retail market that they handle. And they will, what they've done with me, for example, is call up and they've said, we want to confirm a $1,200 new iPhone order that you placed. And if this is not correct, press 2 and talk to an operator. Now, this is a recording in an American speaking voice. And the moment you push 2, I've gotten people in India, okay? And they want to know what my account number and my password is, so if they can erase it. And I know I start off right away. My wife hates this, by the way, but I start off right away saying, oh, I am so happy. I've been waiting for this iPhone. What color is it? And how soon am I going to get it? And I keep them on long enough, and then they hang up because they know I'm not telling them I'm going to cancel it. Okay? But it's a scam. It's a scam. So if anybody does call you and says an order was placed on your Amazon account, and if that's not accurate, press the following numbers. Don't do that. You go and call Amazon from the number on your credit card or a statement that you had from Amazon and confirm that there was this mysterious charge against your account. And of course, what they're going to say is, no, there wasn't. But don't fall for it and assume, oh, somebody actually got into my account. If you actually give them your account number and your password to cancel it, they don't cancel it. They start charging all kinds of stuff. And here's the other thing that people do, and we'll get to again in a minute. A lot of people use the same password for every online shopping thing or online place that they go. You should use a different password for every account you have. Because if they somehow fraudulently get into your Amazon account, they will assume that you use that same password, and they will go to Target and they will go to all kinds of places and experiment using your name and that password to get into your account. Okay, sometimes they're lucky enough to get in and sometimes they're not, but there have been stories about a person, I saw written up in the police department, they got into his account with his password, and before he realized what was going on, they had stolen thousands and thousands of dollars worth of merchandise from other online retailers because he used the same password everywhere he went. So the rule of thumb is never use the same password twice. Same twice for the same account, but not in 2 different locations. Scammers will often use something called spoofing to send you, to call you, and the phone number looking on your phone comes in, and usually it'll come in an area, often an area code that may be yours, and you may think it's somebody calling you, a neighbor, and you'll answer and speak to them. Sometimes, and I had one where I thought my wife was calling me from the house phone because it had my house phone number on it, and so I answered, and it was a scam calling me on my cell phone. So the information, what you need to know is that now they do something called VoIP phone calls, voice over internet protocol, which means that the computer is random dialing a phone number, and they try to get it as close to your area code and the first 3 digits of your phone as possible, and that's where the scam call comes in from. So just don't believe that when you get a phone call like that that it's legitimate. And if it's coming in from an area that you are unfamiliar with and you don't know anybody in that area, don't even answer it. If it's legitimate, they will leave a message for you and you can call them back. Okay, so a lot of these calls are coming in and they're making it look like a neighbor or somebody in your community or maybe even somebody you know is calling you, and it's not true. Okay, next thing you need to know is that the scammers may call you and tell you that you're a winner of a very large lottery. You've all gotten this already. You're lucky you got $5 million in the Irish sweepstakes. You never stopped and said, I never bought a ticket enough, but I won, okay. And so the only way that you can get your money, obviously, is to pay the IRS a small income tax in advance, might be a couple of $1,000s, or pay a fee to get the money into the United States. And there are people who've done that because they're so excited about winning $5 million in the Irish lottery, they didn't buy a ticket to. The other scam is that a foreign banker will call you. You may have gotten this call. Hi, I am the vice president of finance at the Bank of in Rwanda, and I'm trying to move $5 million out of Rwanda, and it's legitimate. It's not phony money. It's real money, and I want to put it in a bank account in the United States, but I have to be there to deposit it. So what I'd like to do is put it in your account temporarily, and then I will take it out and put it into a bank account when I get there. But I'll pay you 5% of that for you allowing me to put the money into your account. And so I have $10 million I'm going to move, and you'll get 5% of that. And there are people who do that. And what happens is you give them the password and your account number, and they don't put anything in your account. They take money out of your account. Okay? And in fact, some of them now send you checks in advance. These are phony checks to be deposited in your account. The check is phony, so in fact, the money is not going to be deposited of any kind of this advance that they're going to give you, but in fact, gives them a chance to withdraw money. And in some of them, there's actually a small bit of print on the check that says this is for a service that we are now providing, and we are authorized by this check to take out $20 a month or $50 a month every month here and after. And you don't even read that small print on the check because you're so excited about getting a check. If a check comes in unsolicited like that, don't go and deposit it. Go to the bank and show it to them and say, is this a real check? And they can check for you and write that in there and say, no, this is not real. Don't do anything with it. But a lot of people are fooled into putting it into their account, which then opens up their account to fraud. Let's talk about charities. If a charity calls and tells you they are the American Red Cross and you've been donating to the American Red Cross and you're happy with them, just what I would say is ask them to send you an envelope and a letter, and you'll send them a check if you want to do that, because at least you know it's going to the Red Cross. Some scammers will name charities that don't really exist or aren't legitimate charities. So there's one that's called the American Association of Police Officers. Okay, I get a call from them about every 2 months. I tell them I work for the Tucson Police Department, even though I'm a volunteer, and I only donate my money there. But in fact, they keep calling back. They don't care what I say. They're not paying any attention and not making any notes. But what I checked out was 3% of the money that they raise goes to some organization called the American Association of Police Officers, and 97% goes to the people who are calling you and scamming you out of the $100 or whatever you're going to donate. So what you should do, if you have a charity calling you and you're not familiar with them, I would recommend you go to something called charitynavigator.org, and they will tell you how legitimate these charities are and what percentage of the money that they raise through fundraising actually goes to the working of the charity. Okay? Yes. Did you have a question?
Well, I was going to say a lot of them, like the Red Cross, and some of those, the Red Cross especially, are deep state. They belong to the cabal, and so the money doesn't go where you think it's going.
That may be, okay. I'm not even familiar with that, but yes, I think it's always a good idea to check out any charity that you haven't been with for a while to make sure that they're legitimate and you like what they're doing with the money.
Same thing with Black Lives Matter. They're part of the deep state.
Okay. Extended car warranties. NPR radio had a whole expose about the fact that this is a scam. So you sign up to get an extended car warranty, and it doesn't either cover that repair or it doesn't cover the total cost of the repair. So you're spending money on this warranty that's really a scam. Okay, and they'll call you up, and they call me up many times, and they'll say, okay, you have an extended, we sent you stuff in the mail, material. I've never gotten anything in the mail. That's the first indication that it's not real. And then they'll say, and so we want to know, do you have a car that's past its warranty? And I said, yes, you should know that. You have it on in front of you. Well, what car is it? They say. And I say, I only have one car. Well, you have to tell us which car it is. I said, no, I don't have to tell you. You're calling me. You know what car. I have no idea what car. Because it's a scam. They're just calling anybody and hoping that they have an older car with no warranty on it. And they're going to sell you one. And that is always, always a scam. If you actually want an extended warranty, call a legitimate dealership directly and say, I have a such and such a year car, model car. I'd like to buy an extended warranty. What does it cost? And can I get it through you? Then at least you know that you're getting something that will, and they'll tell you how much it'll pay and what it'll pay for, but at least it's a reputable organization that you're buying it from. Let's talk about internet social sites. A lot of seniors, a lot of people, but especially seniors, often go on the internet social sites to meet people that they hope might provide a lasting relationship with. And in many cases they do. But there are a lot of people who are scammers on the sites. And they will give you a picture of them, which is often, most often, not a picture of them at all. And then they will talk to you and start a conversation. And over time, you get to know them really well. And they may be doing this with a lot of people, other people at the same time. And then they will ask you, tell you, I'd love to come and visit you in Tucson, but I'm having some financial problems here in London, wherever they tell you they are. And is there any chance that you could send me the money for a ticket? A lot of people do. And then before they get there, they'll say, oh, well, the British Internal Revenue Service there has said that I have to pay some taxes before they let me leave the country. Is there any way you can advance me some money on that? And slowly but surely, they keep suckering you in for sending them more money. If you really want to see a really scary movie, it's called Tinder Swindler on Netflix. And they talk about, and this is a documentary about a guy that's been scamming women. And one young woman in her early 20s who fell in love with this guy, and he took her on his yacht, which was paid for by other women. And he went to buy an apartment in Paris, which was being paid for. And so by the time she got through and realized she was being scammed, she wasn't wealthy. She was a working woman. She was scammed for $500,000 on credit cards. I think she had a mortgage on her apartment or a house, but she was in it for $500,000 and then discovered that, they were never able to put him in jail. They've been doing this all over the world. So the point I'm only making is, the point I'm trying to make is, you can meet some really nice people, I'm sure, online, but sending people money is the first indication that something may be wrong. And I would be very careful before you do that, recognizing that that's a conduit for them to be able to scam you. Okay, next one is computer hijacking. So there's something called ransomware. So if you click on a new website, a new program, something that's unfamiliar, it may have something called ransomware, which is downloaded to your computer, and it takes over your computer, and then everything on your computer is locked up until they send you a message that says, to unlock it, you need to send us $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever amount of money. The first thing you should do immediately is turn off and unplug your computer. Don't turn it back on, and see a computer expert to find out how to get rid of this ransomware from your computer. Because even if you pay them and they start your computer up, they often, but not always, but often leave a small piece of that program hidden away in your computer to take it over again later on and scam you again. So ransomware is very dangerous, but you can't try to fix it yourself. Just turn it off and unplug it and see an expert for your computer. Now there are door-to-door scammers. That's less frequent, but it is prevalent. It is coming around. There are people who will go to your door and try to sell you on solar panels, pool in your backyard, any kind of upgrades. The first thing is never allow a stranger in your home, because then you are vulnerable to some kind of physical force, or they could threaten you in such a way, and they're going to ask you for money. So the first thing these scammers want to do is get money up front. There was some recent ones in Tucson about some company putting in pools. They got money up front and they never finished any of the pools, and people had big holes in their backyard but lost all their money. You don't pay for anything up front unless you've contacted Better Business Bureau and maybe even the police department and said, are these people reputable? Because they're asking me for 50% of a $50,000 pool before they start any work. That's often a sign of a bad business operation, and somebody's going to scam you. So never let any unknown salespeople in, and never sign anything or give them any money or personal information when they talk to them. Now we're starting to see mailbox theft in two ways. There are people who go around to your mailbox early in the morning before or a little before the post office comes, and they're looking for checks. How do they know there's a check in there? Because it's addressed to one of the credit card companies, and they will steal the envelope, change the payee, or and they will cash the check. Okay, so they say if you can, and let's say the post office always comes around noontime, try to put your outgoing mail with money in it, being checks, as close to the time they normally come to pick it up as possible. Okay. Now, and also, as soon as you get mail and they're coming, take it out of the mailbox, because there are people who go around looking for opportunities to steal mail that might be valuable and so they follow the post office. They follow UPS. They follow Federal Express. And you've been watching programs on television about people coming up to your patio, to your porch, and stealing packages that have just been dropped off by Amazon. So if you have things like these doorbell rings or cameras or stuff, good. If you don't, and when a delivery is being made, go out and pick it up as quickly as possible, and don't leave things like that on your porch. Now, some of the latest scams are rental assistance programs. Some of them are legitimate, obviously, from the government, but there are people who will call you up and tell you that if you need help on your rent, they can help you, and there's always a fee for that, but they're nothing to do with the actual government offering that. So if you really are interested in a rental assistance program, call the government, call the local government, call Tucson or the state, and get information on how to find out about it. But don't do it over the phone with somebody who's offered you that service. The same, with fake job scams. There are a lot of people who are looking for part-time work or getting back into the workforce after the pandemic, and so there are places that are saying we can get you a job but this is for a fee. Now, what they do is they go over websites that actually are legitimate. Like, I forgot the names of them, but there are websites out there that list jobs, and they will take information about them and about you, and then call you up and say, you were listed as looking for a job. We can do that. It's $1,000 or $500 fee for it, but we know from your credentials that you're about 90% sure to get in, but you have to pay the fee up front. Those job sites do not ask you for money up front, and I would not follow up and pay them. That's another scam. Fake Amazon employees. Okay, some scammers claim they're from Amazon, but they're imposters claiming to be. Most often they do that over the phone. About supposedly a charge to your account, but sometimes they actually are in the neighborhood, supposedly making a delivery, and they stop to let you know something, and they're posing as as an Amazon employee, and that's a scam too. Scammers are also demanding money via money transfer apps like Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App. So if they're asking you to send money through any of these sites, the moment you send money through any of these sites, the money disappears. You can never get it back. And so when you do this, always think in advance. Does this sound right? Because you don't have a chance, second chance, second thought, think it later on, because the money is always gone. Okay, I've had a young man calling up. He calls every 6 months. He has no idea. He keeps calling the same person. The very first time he called, he told me that, when I answer the phone, I say hello, so it's a male voice. And he says, Grandpa. And I say, yes. And you may have heard, maybe he's called you too. So Grandpa, I said, yes. He said, Grandpa, I had a problem. Last night I went to the bar. I was having 2 drinks. I wasn't drunk, and I came out in my car, just brushed the car next to me, but the woman was there and she yelled, and the police car was in the parking lot, and they arrested me for drunk driving, and it's a $600 bail money I need. So I said the first time, I said, first of all, my grandson is 12 years old. But I didn't tell him. So on the first call, I said, well, you're very lucky. I work for the Tucson Police Department. You get me the arresting officer's name, and I'll have my chief call his chief. And we'll get you out of jail without the bail. Now, my chief is not going to do that, and I'm only a volunteer. But he hung up and never called back. 6 months later, same voice. It's a recording. Hey, Grandpa, same story. So the second time I said, I don't understand it. I said, your mother let your mother let you, 12 years old, take the car and go out drinking for the night, and now and he hung up. My wife says, why are you doing it? I said, the longer I keep him on the phone, the less he can do this to somebody else. He called again. This is the last one, 2 months ago. And he calls again. Grandpa. I said, yes. My grandson isn't any older than he was 6 months before. Now he's 13. And he called and told me the whole same story again. I said, I'm surprised you're even out of jail. Did they not find all the bodies that you buried in the backyard? And he hung up. So, but he's not smart enough to write down, don't call this number again, because I'll get another phone call in 6 months. But the point is, if somebody calls you and claims that they are a relative, ask them who by name. Don't say your grandson. If they, or make up a name and say, is this Stephen? And you don't have a grandson by the name of Stephen, and he says yes, hang up. Okay, so I have a friend. He's in his early 70s. His mother, this is a year ago, she's 93. She gets a phone call, and she picks up, and she says, hello, so he knows it's a woman. Grandma, they kidnapped me, and they're going to murder me at midnight tonight unless you send them $6,000. Please go to the bank and get $6,000. Don't let them kill me, Grandma. She said, I won't. She runs to the bank. She doesn't call anybody. She goes to the bank. So the teller knows her. She never takes out any large amounts of money. And she says, oh, just a minute. She calls the manager over, and he says, what do you need the money for? She tells him, and he said, well, it's a scam. I'm not going to give you the money. She said, you have to. It's my money. He said, I'm not going to give it to you. It's a scam, and they're going to steal it from you, and you won't have it. So I'm not giving it to you. So she's furious and scared, and she goes home and she calls her other grandson, her son, who says that they captured my grandson, and they're going to kill him. And she tells him the whole story. He says, Mom, I just had lunch with him. He's fine. Oh, she said. She is so terrified that she didn't call anybody. So the first rule of thumb is if somebody calls you and tells you that some member of your family is in danger or has been kidnapped or whatever, call that person on the phone. Okay? If that person's phone doesn't ring, call somebody else in the family who should know where they are. So if somebody says, we just caught him here, he was in England, or he was at Phoenix, and we caught him, and he's going to, and you know that he's away on a vacation and he's not in Phoenix, it's a scam. But don't panic and respond immediately by going to get gift cards or cash from a bank, because you can never get the money back. The moment you give it to them, it's gone. Okay, and these threats against your family, against seniors, are more and more prevalent. So don't be surprised if you get one. I would not play around with somebody who's telling me about my grandson being kidnapped and murdered, but I certainly don't mind when my grandson is 12 years old and is, in jail for drinking and driving. So there are also, by the way, local tax imposters who claim that they're working for the city or the county or the state, and they come around to your house and tell you you have not paid the such and such tax and you need to pay it immediately. And they want money right then and there, whether they want cash or credit cards or check or whatever, but they want the money right then and there to settle the debt. The tax people do not come around door to door claiming that you owe them money, okay? It's amazing. It's very depressing. That's really all the different scams that I really have to talk to you about. I'm happy to answer lots of questions. Tell me if anybody has a question about them. The problem with all of these scams is you can report them to the police department, but in 99% of the time, they're done in such a way that the police really can't do anything about them, because the way you've paid for them, the money's gone, and they can't get the money back. Okay. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're online. Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. So, Allan, I do have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
One is, can you tell us how you can tell the difference between a social media account that might be fake and maybe one that's real? Because a lot of times we'll get those friend requests, and it might be somebody we already have as a friend, and we get a duplicate. Is there any way to tell when somebody gets something like that?
I don't know, the answer to that, other than to say the alarm should be the moment that they want you to spend money on them. Send them money, buy a ticket for them. That's an alarm. But if somebody wants to chat with you for a long period of time over the phone, over the internet, I would say go ahead and do that. Just don't give them any personal enough information that they can scam you.
Right. Now,
I wish I had more definitive information for you on that.
So yes, and I usually am very cautious. If I know that I have somebody that's already my friend, I pretty much usually know that we might have been, somebody is going after their account, sort of spoofing them. So I usually delete that extra one and reach out to that person directly to say, I think you might need to change your password because you might.
Okay, good suggestion.
Yeah. So what about? I don't know if you've heard about this one, but recently I've gotten some from Ukraine. Now with everything that's going on in Ukraine, there seems to be a few times where I've received either a text or an email that says, pleading for help, which I totally understand, but they're obviously trying to trigger your emotional response. So I don't know if anyone else has heard about the Ukrainian, some things like that, some phishing details where, don't click the link, right?
Right.
Yes.
Well, if it sounds like a charity that is supporting the Ukraine, I would check with this charity navigator, because I'm sure they would have something on that if it's legitimate.
This is a personal ask. It's a personal person saying, I have been, they're looking for help, and it's not coming through a charity. It's actually a sort of a personal plea. So I just don't know if anyone has heard of that, but I actually have received a few. And just texts in general seem like they're on the uptick as far as trying to fish for information. And always important for the audience to know, when you get those links in your text, right?
Right.
Not click those links.
Right. Absolutely. Never click a link in a text. I agree.
Yeah. So great. I want to thank you so much for being here today, Allan. I'm going to let you finish up in the room, but I want to thank you for being with our online audience today.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, so here